And just to let everyone know, we did contact Colfax BRT project team. We've been trying to get some statistics on the traffic patterns, what the plan is, what the proposed plan is going to do to 13th, 14th, as well as the side streets. They said they need more time to do an analysis, so we're hoping in the future they can sit down with us to explain what those changes will be, because they've got federal funding and they're going to start pretty soon. The CDs will be done. So we're looking forward to hearing that, to understand what the impact's going to be for the neighborhood. So with that, I will hand it over to Dr. Jody, and type your questions directly into the chat, and they'll go to us, and then we will post the information that we get. So, Dr. Jody, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. And once I share my screen, I won't be able to see the chat. So if someone could just let me know, please feel free to interrupt me throughout this presentation. So. All right, do you guys see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. And so first of all, thank you for having me here today. As he mentioned, I'm Jody Slate. I'm the operations manager here at Denver 911. Wanted to join today to share some points with you outlining what's happening at Denver 911 and to ensure we're being as responsive to your questions and concerns as possible. So again, thank you for having me. Please know that I have multiple screens that I'm looking at, so I'm not trying to side-eye anyone here. So I just want to make sure I'm being attentive to all of the screens here. So first, what happens when you call 911? What actually happens? It isn't like what you see on TV. Denver is unique in that the call takers are different from the dispatchers. So when you call in, you get an emergency communications technician, or an ECT is what we refer to them as. So in this particular diagram, the ECT would be the operator. The dispatcher is the one who receives the incident in their pending queue, sends officers, paramedics, or whatever resource is needed, and then the help would be that resource that's sent. That process broken down in a little more detail is depicted here. So let's talk a little bit about what all happens. The call is received by the ECT. The ECT processes that call through a lot of questions. This is a standardized call taking process that they go through. It's designed so that they all do it the same way and so that they don't forget to ask certain questions. What's most important to remember with this is that these questions, they do not delay a response. If you call and say someone has been shot, as soon as you give the location, the call is sent to the dispatcher. It goes into their pending queue and they see it right away. Contrary to popular belief, they do not always know exactly where you are. So it is important to give the location or even just the cross street. If you give no other information, give the location. The call taker will ask you to verify that. They'll also ask you to verify your phone number. And so nowadays we all have caller ID. So why do we ask that? Sometimes a person calls from someone else's phone. Maybe it isn't the best number to reach you if a callback is needed. So that's why they ask you to verify that phone number. We need to be sure that if we do need to call you back, we have the best number to reach you. The computer system is all linked together between the call takers, the dispatchers, the paramedics, and fire dispatch. So everyone sees notes added in the call in real time. It's crucial that you continue to provide as much information as you can, safely, of course. We don't want you to stay in a dangerous situation just to give us information. But if it's safe for you to do so and answer the questions, please do so. And it's absolutely okay to say, I don't know, when they're asking you questions. But this way, the call taker can continue to update the incident and the dispatcher can update the responders with that information while everybody is en route. The dispatcher is responsible for figuring out which resources are closest to you and which ones are best at giving you the kind of help you need. So they tell them what's going on via the radio, and then the responders see the information in their vehicles as well. So all of this is happening while responders are en route to whatever the situation is. So again, the questions do not delay the response. So what if you're on hold? There are many reasons why 911 might go on hold, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But in the meantime, if you are on hold with 911, we need you to first stay on the line. Basically, the phone system is trying to find an available console to drop your call into. So as soon as the ACT is off their previous call and available, the next call in line drops to them. If you hang up and call back, your call goes to the bottom of the call queue and you lose your place in line, which creates a longer wait time. If you called by accident, just stay on the line, let the call taker know you called by accident. It happens all the time. You're not going to get in trouble for that. If you did hang up, it's what we call an abandoned call. So the system will attempt to call you back. When you answer, it will ask you if you meant to call and if you had an emergency. So if you press the prompt or the number indicating that you meant to call, it's going to put you back in the queue, but at the bottom of the queue. If you indicate that there was no emergency, it'll close that call and drop the abandoned call. So always stay on the line if you're on hold. And I know seconds seem like an eternity during an emergency, so do the best you can in terms of that. So why does 911 go on hold? First of all, I cannot express to you enough how much we feel your frustration with this. Unfortunately, calls do go on hold. Is that a problem? Absolutely, 100%. I can relate to how it might feel if my grandchild were hurt, or if my dad was having a heart attack or any other emergency and I called 911 to be placed on hold. So I get it. And no, it's not acceptable. So some of the reasons why 911 might go on hold may include a large incident, such as a crash or a shooting or a large disturbance, a fight where there are a lot of people in the area. Those kinds of things will generate a lot of 911 calls all at once. A fire will generate a lot of 911 calls all at once. These days, everyone has a cell phone, so we get inundated with calls during those types of incidents. Staffing is a huge issue. I'll talk about that in a little bit later. In a little while, but staffing versus call volume in Denver is a huge factor. People call 911 quite often when they should call non-emergency. So non-emergency would be for in-progress crimes threatening life or property, so an immediate threat to life or property. If there's a shooting, obviously that's 911. If there's an injury crash, it's 911. If you're watching someone steal your car, that's 911. But if you wake up in the morning and your car is gone, it's not an emergency. Now, it's a personal emergency. It would be an emergency to me as well if my car was stolen. However, it's not for 911. You call the non-emergency line and report the car stolen that way. It's not life-threatening. The same thing goes, for example, a burglary. If someone is breaking into your home, so even if you're not there, but maybe you see it on video, absolutely, that's 911. But if you come home after a weekend away and your house has been broken into sometime over the weekend, it's a really bad day. It's an emergency to me, but it's not 911. So just a little bit of education and thought process around when we should be calling 911 will help keep those lines from going on hold. So every 911 center is held to a national standard for answer times. So the national standard is 95% of 911 calls are to be answered within 20 seconds or less, and 90% are to be answered within 15 seconds or less. Up until about 2021, Denver 911 met that standard consistently every single year. After that, after COVID, we suffered just like everyone else with the Great Resignation, along with the huge influx of people moving to Denver. So for the last few years, we have not met that standard. So this chart breaks down the answer times. It's what we call our answer time report. So the answer time report is representative of the caller's answer time experience. So basically the time that the system seizes the call, so seizure to answer time is measures the time of the call seizure to the time a person actually answers the call. So if you're looking at this graph over the past year, I did the last 12 months. We're roughly, if you're looking at percent answered within 10 seconds, for example, September, if you look at the bottom of the graph here, 48.44%. Within 15 seconds, 52. And then as you go across the top, it shows you the answer, percent answered within a certain amount of seconds. So we do answer right around 90% of our calls within 120 seconds, but that's 2 minutes. That's a very long time when you're on hold with 911, and I get that. So we're nowhere near where we need to be, but the goal is to be back up to the 90% and 95%. So this chart is basically the same data, but for non-emergency calls over the past year. So we're not too concerned about non-emergency calls. Non-emergency lines are going to go on hold. We're not, like I said, our primary focus is 911 as opposed to non-emergency, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an idea of where we're at with the non-emergency as well. This year alone, my team members have processed over 1.7 million calls as of the end of September. This includes 911 calls, non-emergency calls, abandoned calls, and text to 911. In 2022, we processed over 2 million, about 2.1 million calls, a little bit over that. So the call volume is very high in Denver. So what are we doing about this? We'll talk about a few, I'll talk to you a little bit about the things that we're doing to mitigate the hold times. But first, let's talk about our staffing. So to effectively process the call volume that we have in Denver, according to the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, APCO, easier said as APCO, we would need a staff of 153 call takers to manage that call volume. We're approved in Denver for 93 call taker spots. We're in the process of getting approval for more call taker positions approved. Out of those 93 approved positions, we have 77 filled. That leaves us at 58% effective staffing because some of them are in training, so that's why it's not higher than that. For dispatchers, with the dispatchers, we have 49 approved dispatcher positions. We just got approval to add 6 more, so we're going to bump that up to 55. We have 47 of those positions filled. Our effective staffing is 87%, again, because some of those dispatchers are in training. So we only count, for effective staffing, we count the ones that can actually sit down and do the job. Out of 15 approved NECT positions, and I'll talk about what an NECT is. It's a non-emergency call taker. I'll explain that in a little bit, but out of 15 approved NECT positions, we have 15 filled. One is in training still, so we're at about 99% effective staffing for NECTs. So what are we doing about going on hold? This is for informative purposes, not for excuses. I'm not here to make excuses as to why we're going on hold, but I want to share with you some of the information in terms of why do we go on hold? Our shifts are created based on call data. So for scheduling, we take a look at all of the highest call volume, and we base our shifts around that. So for example, you'd be surprised that Monday mornings and throughout Monday is our busiest call volume time. So we have the heaviest staff on Mondays. Mandatory overtime. Our employees have been working mandatory overtime for going on 2 years now. They have to work a certain number of hours each week over their normal 40-hour work week, and that's mandated. We're also foregoing some breaks. So how does this work in terms of labor laws? If 911 is on hold, if one of our call takers is on a break, we have what we call reader boards throughout the center, so we can see when calls are on hold. If we have call taker on a break in the kitchen and 911 calls are on hold, they're required to come back to the operations floor and log in and answer calls. So we do let them take breaks when non-emergency lines are on hold, because quite honestly, if we didn't, nobody would ever get a break, and we have to make sure they're getting some sort of a break. But when 911 is on hold, we forego those and push them back. So their breaks might be a little bit late, but they get them eventually. One of the other things we've done is we've increased the pay scale for all frontline Denver 911 employees. In 2020, the starting rate for a call taker was $20.20. Since then, we were able to get a little bit of a pay bump for them a couple of years after that. And then this year we did an agency-wide comp analysis to get our pay scales comparable to other agencies. And now a call taker starts right around $29 or $30 an hour. So it's a pretty significant pay increase. So we've been able to increase our staffing quite a bit because of that. We've implemented a very robust wellness program for our employees, and that includes counseling services because of the things that they need to hear and the burnout that's associated with this profession. And some other things. We have some quiet rooms where the employees can go during their breaks and sit and just be off the operations floor and away from all of the chaos. We do have a recruiting team that we work with very closely, very aggressive and proactive recruiting efforts. And then with that, we've been able to host the largest call taking academy this year in Denver's history, Denver 911's history, of 30 call takers. And they just graduated last month. We have another call taking academy starting next week, actually. So we're really excited about that. We have another 14 coming on board next week. What's unique about the training for 911 though, is that it's not something where we can just hire somebody and bring them in and in a week or two have them answering calls. It's a long process. So it's 3 months of academy, and then there's 3 months of on-the-job training, and then they're on probation for 3 months. So it's a very long process. We completely restructured the academy to try to get employees out on the floor answering non-emergency calls sooner, while the other half of the class learns the 911 piece and they flip-flop. So that cut the time in half that we were able to get people on the floor answering phones. So that was one of the things that we did to mitigate those times as well.
So quickly, did you poll like some of the workers who have left to understand why, or what the issues are with working in a job with so much stress, to try to mitigate either techniques of stress reduction or other things like that?
Yes, we actually implemented a wellness coordinator position, and that person is in charge of wellness and only wellness. They do nothing else other than that. So they focus on various resources, everything from having a massage chair on site, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but it really helps with morale, and it helps for our employees to be able to go into a quiet room and sit there and relax for a minute, to having an on-site, they call it our in-house 7-Eleven, but there's beverages and snacks and drinks and whatnot that employees can go in and enjoy without having to go off site for that. Counseling services. We have a group that comes in with therapy dogs to come in. So there are there's a long list of items that the wellness coordinator is in charge of in terms of ensuring that our employees stay healthy and combat the stress associated with it. So one of the biggest projects that we had this year was within about a year and a half or two, the implementation of the NECT program, the non-emergency communications technicians. So now this is a group of remote employees. They work from home. We get them set up with all of the equipment that they need, and they answer non-emergency calls from home. What that allows us to do is to dedicate our ECTs who are fully trained in 911 to focus on 911 only. So all of the non-emergency calls go to the NECTs. Everybody on site that's fully trained can answer 911 only. I see a hand. I can't see the chat if there's a question in there, but I do see that a hand is up.
Yeah, you keep, hi, Charlotte. You keep referring to the non-emergency calls, but I don't know how you reach non-emergency calls, because is that 311? Is that still 911 and gets deferred off to that? Tell me,
Sure.
because I have a lot of non-emergency calls, but they're not 311.
No, that's great. That's a great question. That's a great question, Charlotte. 311 is completely separate from 911 and our non-emergency line. So it's a 10-digit line. It's 720-913-2000. And that is the Denver 911 non-emergency line, or the Denver Police non-emergency line. It's in and of the same. So if you do have a situation where it's, you need a police response, but it's not necessarily 911, you would call that 10-digit number, and it would come.
That's not well known. Here I am, and I'm asking, maybe everybody else knew that number, but that's a new one on me. I like knowing that. We could I think that might cut down on your overload if more people knew to go directly to that number.
About the non-emergency line. Sure, we can work on our media relations and have them get the number published.
I think that would be great. Okay, that's my comment. Thank you.
Sure. I appreciate it. Thank you. We are looking at some additional technology to mitigate hold times. There's some technology out there that helps to triage calls. For example, when you do get that large crash on the highway, there are phone systems and technology out there that I forget the term, but AI, where it recognizes the voice prompts, and it'll ask the person, are you calling about the crash? Because it tracks the GPS of where the call is coming from. So not an exact location, but it'll track, and it'll geofence that area. So if you're driving by on the highway and there's a large crash and we have 10 calls on it already, the system will recognize that that's where you're calling from, and it'll ask you, are you calling about the crash at I-70 in Brighton? And you say, yes, I am. And then it'll ask you if you're involved. So the system will help triage that. If you're not involved, then it'll give a prompt for you to leave information, but not necessarily come through to the 911 center. So we are looking at additional technology to mitigate those hold times. A couple of other things, we work very closely with DPD. They have the TRU at Denver Police is a telephone report unit. We work very closely with them to be able to handle as many calls as possible on the phone. And then we're also working at expanding an online project with Denver Police, where there's a very small set of types of calls that you can report online right now. So we're working with them to expand that so that people don't even have to call in for certain things. That is in the works right now. It's not completed, but we are working on it. So we're talking about reintegrating on-call or part-time employees. Right now, we don't have that. We did at one point over the years, but haven't for a while. So we are discussing reintegrating that. And then finally, just education, things like this, sitting and having discussions with community groups and people that are interested, in their neighborhoods, and offering tours. So if anybody's interested in coming to see the 911 center, we've done quite a few. And we've had some really good feedback from people, in that when they see what actually goes on and they get to see the center, and in some cases we can even arrange to have an observation where you actually sit with a call taker or a dispatcher and listen in on the calls. It's pretty eye-opening, and we've had some really good feedback about it. So
I like your idea of reintegrating, because as the population gets older and some people are semi-retired, it's a great opportunity to get people with a lot of experience to be able to make some money on the side and be involved with the community and help you guys out too.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. So one of the things, many people are unaware that you can text 911. This is absolutely a thing, and we encourage people. We encourage people to call if you can, but text if you must. We can get better information. We can hear what's going on in the background when you call. But for example, if there's a situation where maybe it's unsafe to call, you can absolutely text 911. It should be considered a 911 line, so treat it as if you would treat any other 911 call. But that text drops into the screen of a call taker, just like a 911 call would. So it ties up one to handle the text, but it's absolutely available if needed.
What would you say would be a sample of somebody texting something that was an immediate threat?
Most often we'll see that with domestic violence. So, maybe we have a victim who's afraid, if they get on the phone, they're in a volatile situation. So typically we'll see that in a domestic violence situation. If somebody is broken into your house and you're hiding and you can't speak. So any situation where it might be dangerous for you to speak, but you could text. So those would be situations where text would be very appropriate.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. The last thing I wanted to discuss with you was how to receive reverse emergency notifications. So these occur if there's an emergency in your area or police activity in your area. There are other methods for receiving alerts, but this is the portal in which you can enter specific locations. So for example, if you live, say, in the Congress Park neighborhood, but you maybe work downtown and you want alerts for anything happening around your work, you can enter the locations in your profile. And you can enter your child's school or daycare in there, a parent's house, or any other important location, so that you would receive alerts if there was something going on there, even if you weren't near there or in that area. But you have to, the thing with this is you would have to keep your profile updated. So it's free. And if you would want to opt in, you would just go to the website. So I have the website here. There's also a QR code that'll take you there. If you scroll down, you click on reverse emergency notification. Then you click on sign up for reverse emergency notification. It'll take you to a login page. Underneath that, you'll see don't have an account. You click on sign up to create an account. It's free. You just have to make sure that you keep it updated. So, and make sure that you enter whatever locations you want in there. So thank you for listening to me ramble on for this whole time, but what questions do you have for me?
Did we have anything? I
have another question.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlotte.
And this may be, where do you call for wellness checks? Is that a 911 or is that a 720-913-2000? Is that a 311? And I mean, for instance, when I find somebody sleeping in the alley behind my house and they're talking and flailing around and it's like, I don't know what's going on with this person, or it's
Right.
a wellness check, but
so right, exactly. So those are difficult because those are case by case. So say, for example, if you see a person and they're coherent, they're not being volatile, they're not being violent, they're just maybe kind of wandering around in the alley, that would be non-emergency. But yeah, somebody should check on them. Maybe they're not seeming like they're right, but if they're down and you can't tell if they're sleeping or they're out, that is absolutely 911. So just kind of case by case, if they're slumped over and you can't tell whether it's a medical issue or something else, by all means, call 911. I would never suggest that someone not call 911 because they're afraid to tie up a line and then have somebody need medical attention. So if you're not sure.
This is Congress Park, we're not that far from, Colfax is right there. And
yeah,
a lot of people need help.
Yeah.
It's part of our reality, at least.
Absolutely. But if someone is, if they're fully functioning and they're coherent and maybe you're just like, no,
that's not what I'm talking about.
But
fully functioning and coherent,
right.
We barely get, I can barely call myself that sometimes, but
Same.
But nonetheless, that's a kind of thing that somebody might wonder, what do I do with this person? And they ask, is he breathing? I'm going, I don't know.
Exactly. And and that's perfect. And I think people sometimes they get caught up in, well, I'm not going to go check. No. I don't want you to go over there and approach anyone. Just if you can't tell or if you're not sure, it's absolutely okay. Just like, you know what, I can't tell. I don't know.
Those are the kind of things that just letting us know what to do is very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome.
Yeah, that could almost be a little cheat sheet. When do you call 911? Here are the 1, 2, 3. Now, Denver's building lots of apartment buildings. I just want to touch on that. Sounds like you've got some parameters based on population for the number of employees you should be staffing at 911. there's a lot of buildings going up. So so we would project the population's going to continue to grow and you're going to continue to be behind the curve. Uh, I mean, because that's going to be dollars, that's going to be staffing, that's going to be managing all of that. Do you guys have any projections if Denver continues to grow at the rate it's growing?
I think just focusing on the expectation that it is going to continue to grow. So that is one of our director's primary focus, is to continue to work with, the city and county and city council and get approvals for additional spots, additional FTEs, full-time employee approvals. So if we can get up to 153, that would be great. I don't know where we're going to put everybody, but we'll figure it out.
Excellent.
We'll figure it out. So it is definitely a constant push to continue to get approval for additional employees.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jody. That was actually quite eye-opening. A lot of good information that we had no idea was happening. So thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you having me. And then if there's ever a call that you have a question about, or if you need to contact me, by all means, I'll put I had my contact information up earlier, but since I took it down, I'll put my email in the chat in case anybody needs to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to have discussions with people and talk about whatever you have questions about.
Thank you for presenting.
Sure. Thank you.
So if we could now follow up, we've got Hana here from the police department, and she's going to talk about some new crime stats for the area.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hana Ruiz, and I'm one of the community resource officers here at District 2. I have the crime stats. I'll go over that first, and then I'll go over some of the things that are going on in District 2. Right now, what I have, which everybody can access this is through the chief's dashboards that we have. So you can actually pull up this information yourself. What I'm showing within the last 28 days, violent crimes are down 14%. Property crimes are down 38%, and that consists of theft from motor vehicle, larceny, burglary, auto theft, and arson. Other crimes are down 23%, which is public orders, crimes against persons, and drug and alcohol, and all other crimes. And that gives us a total of 34% down overall in Congress Park. So that means we're doing something right. People are probably taking things out of their vehicles. We're not, kind of being a target. Maybe that doesn't sound right, but that's kind of what it is. Locking up your cars, keeping your garage doors closed, that kind of thing. That is helpful. And that it's showing. It shows right here that all of those crimes are going down. The other thing that we're actually doing right now is, of course, all our Halloween events. We have numerous Halloween events. 2 of them are on the 27th, and that is one in at the Holly Square, and then McAuliffe International School. We also have it on that same day, and we're just participating with them. So they're actually the ones that are having the event, but we will be there. One of the big ones that we're doing is National Western, and that's for the GES neighborhood associations. And that is on the 31st. And then, I forgot, almost the 30th is Nobi. Nobi is the apartment complex, which is off 12th Avenue in Syracuse, which I think a lot of you are familiar with. So those are just our Halloween events that we have going on. And one of the bigger things right now is we're having a huge staff change. We are going to get a new commander. We have 3 new lieutenants that are coming, and numerous sergeants that are being brought over. So, of course, they will. I will invite them to your next meeting so they can maybe all introduce themselves to you. I believe you've all met Matt Mallow, right? I had an extended medical leave, so I think he was filling in for me for some meetings. Did he ever attend any of your meetings?
I am not familiar with that name.
Okay, he's the actual Sector 1 lieutenant, which you fall into that area, which Sector 1 of District 2. So he is our lieutenant for Sector 1. He will, I'll let him know, and then we can send him an invite as well so that they can all introduce themselves to you. So there's going to be a big change in our command staff. So there'll be a few things that are, be changing, and we'll try and keep you updated on all those things that are going on. We're still, though, the police, so we'll still be doing our policing. But does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so Hannah, quickly, so why is this a huge staff change? What's going on? Are people moving up, or this is just a standard thing? What's happening here?
I think it has a little to do with everything within the mayor change. Our chief actually, as far as I know, is still remaining our chief, and in any time that happens, they do a little bit of change, to follow whatever person they feel will fit that role. Lieutenant Stigler, he's actually going on to Metro, so it's a good place. He did well while he was here after Commander Bancroft retired, so he did a pretty good job of taking care of us out here. But I think they wanted to place someone. So we are getting Commander Carlos Aragon. You might be familiar with that name because he was actually the commander in District 3. And that's fairly close to, they're across from where our district ends, more on the east side. So he's a little familiar with the area. And then, of course, his staff that he brings over. So that's kind of the big reason why all that change has come about.
Excellent. Did you get any new instructions from the mayor as to the direction of the policing? Was there any direct communication or anything like that?
No, and if we do, it's definitely going to go through our chief, and then he'll address anything that the mayor is going to change or implement to our department.
Excellent. It looks like Wendy has a question. Go ahead, Wendy.
I do. I wondered if you could put the website for the crime stats in the chat so people could access those.
Oh, yes, of course. I will do that. Now, I'm not really computer savvy, but I definitely know how to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful for people. So how is it going with the staffing? I know there was a push, it came up at the mayor's race about trying to hire more police. Are you aware of any new implementations for, and are you short staffed for our district?
Yes, across the city, every district is short. We are running short on staffing. Right now, I know they have 50, I believe, 52 that just graduated, and I believe that was 52. I hope I'm not. I know it's roughly around there.
It's okay.
50. Another class just started with 26. So recruiting's doing the best they can to recruit. Hopefully we have more people exiting than we actually get hiring. So, it just happened to fall into that area when we didn't do any hiring between 2008 and 2013. The folks that were on are actually at a retirement age. So they're, leaving. And even I am in that category. I'll be close to that as well. So, we'd love to stay, but we want to enjoy our retirement too. So I think that's just what's happening, a lot of that. So we do have a huge turnover, and we're trying to keep up with the numbers, and the chief is doing the best that he can, I think. A lot of recruiting, and hopefully, if you have anybody interested, send them our way. We can the information.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like the city might need to do some, I know that in the past they were keeping people from retiring by giving them some kind of financial incentives. So maybe they'll have to think about that to keep those people on a few more years.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Any big issues that you think that you see for this area? Anything that just kind of are odd things happening in our district that you're aware of?
In the Congress Park area, nothing that is any different. The traffic, of course, that, you know, that 13th, 14th, 6th Avenue, those areas, those are all still, you know, a high concern for us. And I know they're all working on it. We, you know, anytime we get any information from the community, you know, I forward it over to our net team, who they try and go out and do some enforcement. You know, I know that has to really go through the city as far as changing what they can do as far as speeds, you know, anything that can, you know, control that. But we will do the best to send out people. We have, unfortunately, I guess staffing is still the problem. And I try to send out, you know, our patrol guys when we can. But they need to address the 911 calls first. So that tends to fall, you know, on the backside.
You're gonna need to get some robots. Oh, and just quickly, I'll end with Wendy. So is there anything that we can do as residents to help the police department? I'm just wondering.
You know, what I would say is keeping us informed, you know, like our staffing, we don't have a lot of officers that can sit and do extra patrol, you know, keep an eye watching things as they're, you know, are going on in the neighborhoods. But if you see something, let us know. And, you know, the biggest thing, I always suggest you can email me or call me. You probably have Megan Patrick's information, and we work very closely. So you can always send her any information. We need to know. If we don't know, we can't fix it. So, you know, and sometimes people are like, well, we don't want to bother you with that. But, you know, sometimes that small thing can mean a lot. So we definitely want to know.
Excellent. Okay, Wendy, go ahead.
Ooh, let's see. Sure. I just wanted to make sure my mute was off. Just a couple things. I wondered, let's see, I just tried to email Megan Patrick last week and it bounced back. So it was the email that was in Dr. Slate's presentation. And I don't know whether they were just having some email problems that day or whether that's incorrect, but maybe you could put Megan Patrick's email in the chat also.
Yes,
Or should those go to you, Hannah? Because you said you're actually the rep for this area.
Yes, and the reason why we utilize Megan a lot is that she definitely can help kind of send things in the motion. She also is aware of, like, if we need to send it to our net team. So she can do a lot of that, just because you know, we have a lot coming at us. We have, you know, a lot of neighborhoods, and she has been the greatest asset I think that we have gotten yet. So not trying to take anything away from me, but Megan has been a blessing for sure.
Okay, well, then we'll look for your email and
Do you have
that'll be
my
great.
email address? I think Vicky actually had it, but I will put it in
Yeah.
the chat as well.
Yeah, you can do that. And maybe then, Wendy, we would CC both of them. Maybe would be the way to
Sure,
do
can't
it.
hurt,
They can
right?
decide. Right.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do then is put the non-emergency number and Hannah's and Megan's emails in the next newsletter, so that we can give a little advertisement about when to use those things. And I wondered about, Hannah, I wondered about the officers on bicycles. Do we still have that squad kind of cruising up and down Colfax, keeping an eye on stuff, or has that been retired?
So they are still, yeah, unfortunately, because of the calls, sometimes they need to utilize their vehicles. And now that it's getting cooler, they'll definitely stick to their vehicles. But no, we definitely have our bicycle crew out there. There's a lot of guys, they love to do their, you know, their bicycles. But unfortunately, when you're, you know, going to arrest somebody, or you just want to transport them, we can't do it in a bicycle. So
You can't get a great big basket in the front.
right, yeah, that, you know, and sometimes people carry a lot of stuff with them. So,
No, no, you just need to go back to the olden days where there's a rope to the bicycle and they have to follow with handcuffs or something.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. There's got to be a solution out there somewhere, right?
right,
Well,
right.
thank you,
you.
Hannah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Hannah. Very
All
good.
right. See you next time.
All right, you too. And then we'll be wrapping up with Matt Fariss to tell us about 14th Avenue being closed and how long, when, and what the rerouting is going to be. So it will be completely closed. So we'll leave it to Matt.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me here tonight. I'm trying to share my screen here. I think I've got it shared, but oh no, hold on, share.
Ah, there we go. We got it.
Can you all see that screen? Okay.
Yep.
So we have an upcoming storm sewer project. I would imagine most of you probably lived through the first phase of the Jackson Street storm sewer system that kind of crossed Colfax, picked up on an existing system in Jackson Street, north of Colfax, crossed Colfax, went through National Jewish Health property, and then came out onto 14th Avenue. That was, well, I don't know now, probably 3 years ago, maybe now.
It was perfect timing. It was during COVID and no one was driving.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been perfect. Could have been more
Right.
perfect.
Well, this won't be quite as perfect, this phase two. So we are picking up right where the last phase left off, just to the east of Jackson Street. And it's really a four kind of distinct phases of the project. The first phase is in 14th Avenue, and we'll dive into each kind of section of the project later. And I guess I shouldn't use the term phrasing or phasing, but 4 distinct activities in the project. The first activity is installing it's a 110-inch diameter pipe in 14th Avenue. And 110-inch diameter pipe, that's almost a 10-foot diameter pipe. So the excavation that's required to install that big of a pipe is about 18 feet wide. And so therefore that's a major factor in the reasoning why 14th Avenue has to have a full closure for traffic while we're installing that pipe. The second kind of distinct portion of this job is we will be tunneling underneath Colorado Boulevard. That will be 2 separate side-by-side 83-inch pipes that run side by side next to each other. And following that part of the work, we have to lay a 120-inch diameter pipe down the kind of the shoulder of Colorado Boulevard. So it's not in Colorado Boulevard, it's on the east side. The city's negotiated a utility easement with National Jewish Health property that they have right there, in order for us to run that infrastructure down the side of Colorado Boulevard. And then kind of the last distinct section of this project, at the tail end, is we just have to, in order for this project to get fully off of National Jewish's property and not have to enter into future legal agreements with them, it will peak into 13th Avenue. And that will also come with a full closure of 13th Avenue at the very tail end of the job. So that's a very quick overview of the project. The project duration, it is a 14-month long period of performance for our contractor. They have 14 months to go from point A up here in 14th Avenue all the way to point B down in 13th Avenue. And the project, their kind of start date is December 1st, contractually speaking. And their end date, their period of performance ends in January, I believe it's January 27th of 2025. this kind of screen that you're looking at here, this is a postcard that we've developed, and they actually went into the mail today, got delivered to the post office today. I believe we're sending them to about 6,000 to 6,500 addresses in and around the Congress Park area. Kind of, we're hitting it's kind of determined by established mailing routes. But definitely everybody in Congress Park should be getting this postcard in the next handful of weeks with some information on there. And I believe, and I can double check with, I think it's Victoria. I believe we have provided her with this postcard and have asked her to send it out to kind of your whole membership.
Yeah, through our email blast.
RNO. And
So-
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, but I will double check and make sure. We just want to get the word out there, especially just how people can get in touch with us when they have questions and need answers. So kind of speaking a little more in detail about the closure, I guess the first place to start is the closure of 14th.
Right.
We are looking at initiating a full closure of 14th Avenue Monday, December 4th. And that will last until April 2nd. We know that there is a tendency on public projects for that time frame to kind of extend. We tried to put a lot of thought into this in the design phase, and when it was going out to bid to the contracting community. A big thing that we often see is just contractor finding ways to skirt around responsibilities. So we initiated there is a $5,000 a day liquidated damage to the contractor. If they occupy 14th Avenue for 4 months and 1 day, they get charged $5,000. If they 2 days, $10,000, so on and so forth. So that gives us a lot more teeth in our contract to be able to put the onus and put some motivation on the contractor to abide by what they bid in order to provide constituents and traveling public of Denver the best that we can.
Do you have timelines for, because it looks like based on your drawing, the first part A of phase 2 will go through the center of the road. Will they then be able to open the road up for 1 or 2 lanes at a certain point? Do you have dates for that?
Really, their 4-month period, it is while they're in this road in 14th Avenue, and then they jump down. If you have it in your head at all, there's a retention pond on the south side of 14th Avenue there, just west of Colorado. So that it will take them 4 months to go from the starting point down 14th Avenue through the intersection of Harrison and cut a diagonal down to get into that retention pond. And then they'll keep working in the retention pond while they are doing concrete flat work, new curb and gutter, new sidewalks, new pedestrian ramps, and then pave back 14th Avenue in order to get traffic back onto it.
So would we expect like a 2 lanes being open at that point?
We are pushing, the way that the contract is written is they have to at least get there's in the very far north side, there is a left turn lane onto northbound Colorado Boulevard.
Right.
They have to get that opened and 1 through lane of 14th Avenue within that 4-month period of time. Just again, talking about the sheer magnitude of the size of the infrastructure going in. We will do everything we can to get it fully reopened, but at that the contractual requirement is they basically have to get the turn lane onto northbound Colorado opened and 1 through lane in that 4-month period of time.
And do you plan on closing Colorado Boulevard at any time for the tunneling?
So there is starting and I guess without getting into the whole ins and outs of the contract, there is work that is going to start occurring with the contractor in November time period. A couple of those things you will start seeing in November. There'll be single lane closures on 14th Avenue. I'm sure it's not going to be a popular statement, but the vast majority of the old existing trees on the north side of 14th Avenue, they all have to come down. So the contractor in November will start removing those trees, doing what's called potholing, basically looking for and verifying exactly where all existing utilities are located. So there'll be some single lane closures in 14th Avenue during November coming up, and as well as some single lane, just daily single lane closures in Colorado Boulevard. Basically the contractor, they have to go in and stabilize the soil over the top of the tunnel,
Right.
so that it doesn't come collapsing down, A, on the workers, B, on the traveling public. So there will be some single lane closures in the November time period on both northbound and southbound Colorado Boulevard. That it's called permeation grouting that has to occur. They do it in a horizontal application. So what you'll really see is activity on the east and west side of Colorado Boulevard when they're actually pushing a small, like 2-inch diameter bore under Colorado Boulevard over the top of where our tunneling will be. But they basically just need to track that bore head when they're moving through various lanes of Colorado Boulevard, and and also monitor it when they're injecting grout to make sure they're not heaving Colorado Boulevard up.
Right. Okay, so I have one more quick question, then we'll go to Wendy, and I think Charlotte had a question as well. So National Jewish Key has all of its parking across the street where you're going to be doing your work, as well as where the old middle high school was. So how have you coordinated with the safety of the employees and all of them crossing the street and the traffic changes?
We'll start with the National Jewish has these two parking lots. They have one here off of Jackson Street. Hopefully everyone can still see my screen. Jackson Street, and they have the one off of Harrison. Both parking lots will remain open throughout our construction. While we're in 14th Avenue, we have to shut down the crossings at Harrison Street, but the crosswalk at Colorado Boulevard and the ability to cross at Jackson Street will remain open throughout the job. Very specifically, National Jewish is what we've worked through with their VP of construction activities is basically keeping this sidewalk that's just on the north side of the community garden, keep that open throughout construction so that people are able to leave the parking lot, get onto Colorado Boulevard sidewalk on the west side, and proceed north, crossing
That's good.
that way.
That's good.
This lot off of Jackson, they'll be able to cross at Jackson as they usually do. Our contractor has just pretty much today finalized an agreement with National Jewish to occupy this whole gravel parking lot. You'll start in November seeing construction trailers go up there, and again, that large diameter pipe that we're installing will start getting stockpiled in this gravel lot, and then the vast majority of this paved parking area of National Jewish's will stay open. Part of our utility easement, kind of this last row of parking on the south side of the lot, that is within our utility easement. So we will take that parking, fence it off, dig it up, and then basically place it back after.
Are all the street trees going on that side?
Yes, every single tree that you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees.
Wow.
Possibly 6.
Gonna
They're all going.
Those, and there's a lot of trees over on the other side. You're bulldozing on the.
All of these
off of
trees on
14th.
the north side. There's 1, 2,
Will they
3,
be
4,
replaced?
5,
Wow.
6 trees on the north side that have to go. This tree has to go. There's 2 trees in the retention pond that have to go, and we are working hard to see if we can't maintain these 4 trees. I know that's a lot of canopy loss. We've worked quite diligently with the forestry department to when we're all said and done on the east side of Colorado Boulevard, we're installing planters. Basically, the sidewalk right now is tight to Colorado Boulevard. Part of what we're doing is installing a whole line of planters all along 8-foot wide planters, if I'm not mistaken, along the east side of Colorado Boulevard between 13th and 14th with trees and plantings and shrubs and bushes all in there.
So you'll be pushing back the retaining wall?
Yeah, we're getting
create
rid of the
more
retaining
space?
wall. Bear with me. I'll drop
Okay,
our little guy, but yeah, this whole retaining wall goes away. There will be a 8-foot planters separating, and then an 8-foot sidewalk.
so 16 feet. It is a high rise zone. It's hospital zone, so they could put a tower there if they wanted. Okay, so go ahead, Wendy.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so that goes away, and then more or less what goes back, it's going to look more like up here north of 14th Avenue. We're putting a slope in 16 feet away from Colorado Boulevard or so. We will put a slope in that's protected, that has that riprap, the big.
Oh, no.
That's what National Jewish requested.
That's not the kind of look that.
Yeah, National Jewish wanted to dissuade camping on their on that slope, and they demanded that we place that slope with riprap like that.
And the trees on 14th.
Yep.
What about
Are you asking what's the restoration?
yes, please.
I believe
That's-
I would have to verify, and I definitely can and follow up.
Look at all those trees. I mean,
And
Yeah.
why do they have
Barren?
to be removed if you're putting the line in the center of the road?
the line is not in the center of the road. There is a existing water main in the center of the road, so our new 10-foot diameter pipe has to basically go. It's kind of right on the shoulder here. The trees have to go because the excavation will go through the trees.
and
Basically, very close up to this sidewalk.
the
There'll be a
question
20-foot
is,
deep excavation.
what do you do at the end? Just leave it barren and naked? You know, trees are.
Again,
well-
I'll have to verify exactly what that restoration is. I don't know it right
You
off.
also
top of
said
my
on the
head.
other side, you know, down in the retainment, you're going to take out some of those. So
Yeah,
Let's
this
think about-
this small tree on private property and the other
Okay.
the 2 trees on
Okay.
private
So
property.
no, Wendy, you had a question? You've got your hand up.
Yeah, I had a couple. It sounded like you were saying, Matt, that the single lane closures were going to start in November. Is that for 14th Avenue or for Colorado?
Both.
Oh,
Both,
14th
okay.
Avenue will start seeing single lane closures, mainly just on the the very far north side, but there'll be some intermittent daily single lane closures.
And that's from
between-
December 4th till when?
Say that again?
That was from December 4th until when?
Oh no, the single lane closures will start happening in November.
I'm sorry, the full closure was December 4th to when?
4th until April 2nd.
April 2nd, okay.
Yeah.
And then you said after that 4 months, they must have the left turn lane from 14th to Colorado and one through lane open.
Yeah.
At least, is that right?
Yeah, basically, if you can see my screen, we're telling them they need to have this, if you can see this turn pocket to get northbound on Colorado and this lane open. We're working with them to see if while they're down in this pit that if they can't do everything accessing off of Harrison Street. But again, it's the sheer magnitude. I mean, they have to get 110-foot diameter pipes down into this area, and that's tough to do. In the easiest and most off the top of your head thing to do is park a truck on in this turn pocket for southbound Colorado for the turn on the right hand turn, and be able to utilize a crane to pick that infrastructure off of a truck and place it down in excavations down in there. With
So
that
that-
being, go ahead.
Oh, so one more thing you said then the construction is going to go down Colorado Boulevard and turn right on 13th Avenue.
Yep.
And then what?
So it runs down this utility easement that we kind of talked through. And then it takes a kind of a 45-degree bend right in this area, and it comes out into 13th Avenue and it stops. And
So
it stops until the-
stormwater would be directed into the street?
There, everything that we're installing flows to the north. So this project will get the main line out into 13th Avenue off of National Jewish Health property, build a couple of new inlets in the intersection of 13th and Colorado here that tie into the new system, and then it stops. So any stormwater flow that's on the surface in 13th Avenue and in Colorado Boulevard will enter into the new system that we have just placed.
But you're gonna continue the storm system further to the east, correct? This is just
in the
partial,
future.
right?
In the
Oh,
future.
okay.
Yes,
It's a
in the
partial.
future, ultimately, this project, and I'm not going to misspeak and tell you the exact direction that it's going to go, but eventually, this whole storm sewer system is going to
Yeah,
get down
there
and
you go.
address
Hale.
flooding in Hale Parkway.
Yeah, and they were talking about
So
making
there's
that
probably
trees
2 to
and
3
a
more
sail
phases of this that are going to last
Yeah.
for 10 to 15 more years. I would
Yeah.
I would venture to say, these projects are not cheap, so it can't all be done at one time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So quick follow-up question. So with the road closures, how have you coordinated that with the fire department?
Okay, fire department is they are in the process of installing it's called an Opticon. Long and short, they push a button, it will override the lights at 13th and Colorado, turn everything all red. This is while we are occupying 14th. They will exit their fire station, come down to 13th Avenue, and if they need to go the wrong way on 13th,
Oh,
they will go the
okay.
wrong way on 13th and be able to get to Colorado Boulevard. Any other call that they're taking, they will work up Garfield Street up to the light at Colfax, and they have another Opticon, it's called, another piece of equipment that allows them to change that light as well. They can change it to all green coming north on Garfield, so that any traffic that's on Garfield can just go, get out of their way.
Okay.
So that is our kind of communication with Fire Station 15 there. Yeah.
And the other thing too, the last thing I can think of is the reroute, that you're rerouting traffic way back.
Yeah. So let me
It's like, are
pull
people
up,
gonna actually follow that?
that's the hard thing. I mean, we can't force people to modify their behavior. There is regulations. Give me 1 second. Let me find that detour map.
Well, it would almost be great to have some signage to tell people at York or whatever, or Josephine, that 14th Avenue is closed. You don't want people to everyone to learn, to let people know with a sign that 14th Avenue will be and is closed.
Yeah. So just kind of a general traffic law requirement is we have to detour. 14th Avenue is a arterial street. We have to post detours to like-sized streets, so other arterial streets. The only arterial street between Jackson and Josephine is Josephine.
Yeah.
All of these other streets they're either collectors or mostly all local. I'm pretty sure they're all local. Maybe Garfield's a collector, but that we had conversations about Garfield, but that's recently. I'm sure everybody's kind of aware it's a neighborhood bikeway. So detouring 14th Avenue onto a neighborhood bikeway is not a very good, it was not a tolerated idea. from our traffic engineering department. So that leaves us with a detour all the way back at Josephine. What we will do is we will reconstruct the intersection of Josephine and 14th to basically shove everything down into 2 lanes. So go from a 3-lane road to a 2-lane road. The furthest north lane, if you will, so as you're driving down 14th, the furthest left lane will be a left turn only lane onto Josephine, and it'll be signed as such with previous notice, you know, lane shifts or change of traffic ahead. Left lane is turn only, the right lane will be a through lane, and we will place barricades to only allow that center lane of the of 14th Avenue to get through, and it will be signed that it's for local traffic only. We'll have a large sign there. We're coordinating with National Jewish to basically say, National Jewish traffic, you're considered local traffic, please continue. And so that is how we will reshape that. Now, we are not fools. We know that traffic, I mean, we can't force people to do the right thing. There will be traffic that either continues through 14th Avenue and blasts all the way down to the full closure at Jackson, and you know, turns south or turn at Garfield, like you guys have talked about.
Or they'll go to Colfax and then turn right.
Right, or people will go up to
Turn
Colfax.
right,
They'll
correct.
turn right. They'll get frustrated with Colfax traffic, and they'll just start jamming down your neighborhood streets. I will reach out to Hana Ruiz and try to have a conversation with her specifically. Generally speaking, and Hana, if you're still on here, please speak up. I have had DPD tell our projects, you caused the problem, you have to fix the problem. They will not, probably because they're short-staffed, as they just talked through, they will not put extra enforcement in the local streets. Doesn't matter how gridlocked or unsafe they get. I have been able to talk to Denver DPD, and they have agreed to, as things start building and getting a little crazy down there, come and park the mobile speed enforcement photo radar vans in areas that we kind of work together to help determine is being unsafe, or people are just driving fast or not following speed limits. Really kind of our focus area will be around Teller Elementary School, to try to ensure speeders and people running stop signs try to do some enforcement there. We also have a pretty substantial budget for what's called uniform traffic control officers. It's basically off-duty DPD officers that volunteer to put their uniform on and come out there and act as, I'll call them glorified flaggers. They really don't have
It does
authority.
make a difference, though, I think.
It makes a difference, for sure. It makes a difference. It at the very least keeps the honest people honest. My full understanding, and I don't want to misspeak, is they do not have the authority to ticket or arrest or anything like that, because they're off duty and they're not actually have that authority. I could be wrong with that, but I more so it's just a visible, you know, having a police officer in their uniform standing at the crosswalk at Teller Elementary School when students are coming in and when students are leaving.
No, that's good. Thank you for that, because that has been a big concern.
Yeah.
Last thing we want is some kind of car
We're
crash.
also trying to kind of finalize it with the traffic engineering department. I believe we ended up doing it in a kind of a knee-jerk reaction on the Jackson Street Phase 1, but I believe we're attempting to make we are in conversations to make Garfield Garfield between 14th and 13th a one-way northbound street during the full closure. Again, just to attempt to prevent people from getting down here and just blasting through Garfield down to 12th Avenue.
Oh, that's interesting.
With that being said, we're also trying to make Jackson Street one way in the southbound direction, and that's just to prevent people from going north on Jackson Street and then
Right.
getting dead-ended, not even dead-ended, but get to 14th, and then really their only option is to crank through National Jewish
Right,
Health.
Well, that makes
park-
sense because
parking
that
lot.
area is just parking for the hospital, so that's not,
Yeah, it's really just, there's a big Excel station
Right.
on
There's
there,
nothing else
and
there.
then a parking lot. So the people that do live on the west side of Jackson Street, if we are able to successfully turn that into a one-way southbound, I mean, they would just need to get detoured up to Garfield around 14th and back down Jackson Street
Okay.
to park in front of their residences.
So those sound really good. So how are you going to coordinate with us so we can let the neighborhood know what you're planning? It sounds like you've got some good ideas, but
Yeah, we
nice
have,
to let them know.
hopefully we have some good ideas. It's just getting them implemented. It's not, I don't know. It's city government, so there's red tape to change anything. How our best way to communicate with you, I have put into that chat, and I will send it out differently, but because it might be a little hard to read in that chat there. But we have a project email address. If you send us an email and say, I would like to get included on weekly updates, we on every Friday starting in November, we will start sending out to whoever signs up for our database a weekly email update, kind of saying, here's what we did this week, here's what's coming in the next week and following weeks, and try to keep the public informed that way. I also, that we have a project hotline that it goes to a recording, but it gets checked every day, even on the weekends. You can text that phone number or call it and leave a message. And we also have a project website that it will have this map you're seeing, and any future maps that we produce will be on the project website, along with all of our contact information and an archived versions of all of the
I think it would be
updates.
useful if when you update it, you then just send us an email saying, hey, we changed the map, and then we can add it in our email blast to let people know, because it's like it's happening now. And so if you're rerouting stuff, it would be great to be able to let the neighbors know your street now is a one-way street, and it will be one way for 4 months or 6 months or whatever, because I think it'll be confusing otherwise.
Yeah.
So Wendy, it looks like you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I wondered, it sounded like, and I might have this wrong as I remember it, you were talking about eastbound Josephine drivers would be routed, eastbound 14th Avenue drivers would be routed up Josephine. That you said it would be reduced from 3 lanes to 2, with 1 lane going through and 1 lane going north. Why not leave it at 3 lanes and have 2 lanes making that left turn, so you can route more people north?
Yeah, sure.
That's good.
Yeah, that was our initial proposal to the city traffic engineer. They, generally speaking, do not like double turns like that, especially how there's a slight skew, and it seems slight to me. It didn't seem slight to the traffic engineer, the city traffic engineer. They're, overarchingly, and we talked through saying, hey, we could place a temporary kind of a radius, turn
they could
radius
paint it.
striping there.
Paint it, right?
Right. They are afraid that cars will turn wide, and we will create more accidents there by doing that. And so
there are double turns all over the city. Have they not noticed?
I
just kidding. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Our initial proposal was to shove it down to 2 lanes, and then kind of near the alley, reopen a pocket for through traffic to jump into the far right lane and come through.
Oh.
That
Mhm.
it was shot down by the traffic engineer's office.
Okay.
I wonder if
And
they're worried there would be too much traffic trying to go through, because that's what we're trying to
there's a
prevent.
whole science behind it that
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know or understand or
That's
pretend
why
to
they get paid the
understand.
big bucks.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, well, I just wanted to throw that out there.
It's a great question and a great thought. I will say that we will continue to work with them and evaluate how successful kind of this transformation is. You know, that first week of December, really, once we initiate it. I mean, I just, me, myself, I will come and drive it multiple times. We'll post some people down here. More than likely, we'll post those uniformed traffic control officers down here just to help traffic flow through and learn the new traffic pattern to the best of their ability.
And do you coordinate with Google on that? Because people are using.
Yeah, we have a kind of a public outreach firm. They're the masterminds behind, you know, our graphics and whatnot. They're well more versed, way more well versed at doing that than I am. But yes, they coordinate with Google Maps, Apple Maps. You know, I don't know, all the major, if you will, kind of mappings, social media stuff like that
Sounds good.
to get that on there so it shows, and then, you know, people hopefully start following that detour path.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long it takes. You guys should almost study it to see what the behaviors actually are. So anyways, well, thank you, Matt. We look forward to hearing, maybe we'll have to have you come back when the residents are like, what is going on here? So
yeah, we will, again, we're not ostriches putting our head in the sand. We realize what traffic patterns and just human nature will do. They'll search for the quickest way to not impact their time without taking into consideration, you know, everyone else's safety. So we will continue to watch it, monitor it. More than happy to have conversations with people if there's, you know, we're not, well, hopefully we're experts, but we don't necessarily think of everything. And you know, if there's things that could be thought of that could be implemented, you know, I know a common thing is requesting speed bumps, kind of on these neighborhood streets to prevent people that are cutting down Colfax to get to 14th. I've been through that numerous times.
No,
the streets department and traffic engineering do not like placing more permanent resolutions to temporary problems.
Well, thank you. No, I mean,
it's unfortunate, but that's the statements that's
right. So just a quick question, Matt. So you work for Dottie. You also have a designation IPM. What does that stand for?
That's infrastructure project management. If I listed my whole kind of job, I don't even know. They've changed it so many times. So we are Dottie, Department of Transportation Infrastructure. I work in, it used to be called Wastewater Capital Projects. It is now Infrastructure Project Management, and we're in a subfolder after that of infrastructure. So there's like 3 infrastructures in our work group. Department of Transportation Infrastructure, Infrastructure Project Management, Infrastructure. And that's to separate us from the kind of the bridge group from the sanitary sewer and storm sewer group. And that's where I work, is the sanitary and storm sewer system for capital projects. So upgrading and building new city systems. We don't, our department doesn't dabble in tying private development into the city system. We only, and we're not wastewater maintenance either. So we don't maintain the system. We just, we build the new big systems.
That's kind of nice, actually. It looks like Tom has a question.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, what is the reroute for westbound 13th at Colorado.
For 13th.
Oh.
We haven't finalized it, so 13th Avenue is not going to be closed until let me look at my notes here. Mid-September of
Next
24.
year, yeah.
We have not finalized that detour yet. It's not a I
But it
don't
will
love
be
what they've told me
closed.
it is. The next arterial street is Monaco. So right now,
Oh.
I've been told the detour has to be Monaco to Colfax down to Colorado Boulevard. I am
Oh.
trying to work with traffic engineering to see if they can't allow us to utilize like Dahlia Street or one of those more mid-major level streets that run north-south in between Colorado and Monaco. But per the letter of the law, and they won't even let us use 8th Avenue to Hale Parkway back up to Colorado Boulevard because 8th Avenue, this stretch 8th it's one lane, and they don't want to push 13th Avenue traffic onto 8th Avenue where it's one lane. So we are still working on a resolution to it, but as of right now, if we had to shut it down today,
Monaco.
the posted detour would be all the way back at Monaco. And I've tried to talk with
Wow.
everybody and tell them, you know how much traffic is going to
Yeah.
enter 13th between here and there, and we're putting it a hard closure in at Albion. And so it's like, man, if we do that, there's going to be a lot of traffic coming down Albion to 12th Avenue and then trying to work its way around, which it's not a good solution. Again, right now I'm in conversations with them. I believe Dahlia is the biggest, the widest of kind of these streets in this area. We're looking for a resolution to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it will be closed at Albion and people will
It
not
will be closed just that one block, and it'll be for 2 months from Albion to Colorado, a full closure of 13th Avenue. Again, that's just to get our 120-inch diameter pipe out into the middle lanes of 13th Avenue. And then basically we put a big plug on the end of the pipe and we bury it until there's enough money for the next phase, which
If
probably
if
would
you
be
have
in
a
2027.
Yeah, if you have a lot of traffic coming down Albion, go to the south. Trying to get out of there is going to be a
Oh,
nightmare
I'm sure
because
it's
that intersection is
yeah.
terrible.
No, I'm
It's
sure
going to
it's
be
a
fully backed
disaster.
up and there's no way to get out.
Yeah, it's not a.
But that's not in our
I'm
neighborhood.
speaking out of turn. It is not a good solution for the
Okay.
people that live there or the traveling public, and that's why we're continuing to work towards figuring a better answer out than Monaco to Colfax.
I would also be concerned because a lot of bicycles also cross there and pedestrians cross there.
Yeah.
So with all this turning traffic and chaos, you just hope there's no crashes or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Matt. I think that's very helpful, and we'll reach out as we get closer.
I will say we have a public meeting coming up. That information is on this postcard.
Okay.
It is this postcard also has all of our contact info that I put in the chat. The public meeting is people hate you whether you have it at noon or you have it at 7 o'clock at night. On this project, we elected to have it at noon, Wednesday, November 8th at noon. It's a virtual public meeting. You can follow this, log into this bit.ly to the meeting right now. It'll just be kind of a blank screen right now.
Right.
You can also follow this QR code. Will take you to our website, and there'll be a link to the public meeting on there as well.
And it looks like it's also going to be recorded so people can see it at a
We will
later time,
definitely
which is
record
very
it.
helpful.
We will
Very,
record
very
it and post it, the recording of it, on our website. So between now and then, we'll continue to reach out to the various RNOs, city council, Teller Elementary School, help ask them to distribute this postcard along with all of our project contact information. You know, we realize the hardships that it puts on a neighborhood when we have a project like this. We are trying to be, you know, be receptive to listening to feedback and attempt to make it as smooth as possible, all while knowing that it's unfortunately a very large civil infrastructure project right smack dab in the middle of the city.
Yeah, and just hopefully it'll be done once and you'll never have to do it again. You'll do such a good job.
Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap this up. It's
Okay.
8:30.
I do too. I've got kids I got to put to bed.
All right, thank you, everyone. It looks like we're done. If you've got any questions, you can send it to Matt with those links or email us, and hopefully we'll keep you updated with everything. So everyone, have a good night.
Thank you.